It looks like kicking things off, of course, we've mentioned, has to be Domination. It's going to be on Celestial Husk here. And there definitely is something to be said of teams that feel more confident on Domination.
Have the Venom who can dive in and out, and Rocket is perfect for that setup. Rocket has large AoE healing similar to a Jeff, but you need to aim it a bit less. So if you can land your direct hits, you get a little bit of extra bonus healing, but also you can heal multiple people who are pushing forward as a group, like for example, Venom and Strange. And we're starting off with Portal because if you have it, you get to the point first and it'll be back before overtime.
Yeah, and you definitely might need it for that overtime. So we do see Slopo going on here with the Namor, looking to get plenty of range damage on through. SmashNezz trying to turn it up here as well. Onto the Doctor Strange, diving on up there. We see that combo, and it looks like a dive from Venom. Oh, FUT Esports with a brilliant wipe there. That's a triple KO on Final Dance.
And you could see the chain of events there of that Namor and the Hela team up. Once the first persons went down, more squids came out, and that just kept the damage coming, allowing a full setup here, and first point is going over to FUT Esports. They begin to rise in the percentage count. And Final Dance, they are looking for an opening.
Yeah, you just got to try and hold them up here realistically. If you can, the more that you can get on that point, allow that to group up, the better. So you're going to try and see if you can hold back Final Dance here. Just outside of these doors, we see Isidor trying to come on in on the flank here, pull them back a little bit from that approach that they're taking. And right now, Milkboy trying to squeeze around as well. They've got to try and get onto these Vanguards. If they can find a KO, they can break through this wall. But right now, FUT Esports are refusing. And DEAMONN, this is why they've got their Hela, buddy. A clean strike onto Leyolaz.
Cosmic Guard Amplifier is allowing them to push on through. They are piling huge amounts of pressure, not going to land the Soul Drainer. Slopo is wrapping around onto the flank here. But just how hard is this going to be for Final Dance? Something we missed talking about earlier. Well, we mentioned we have the Tidal Dirge for and the healing reduction and the Beat of the Abyss for healing reduction. They also have the Terror Cape for a vulnerability onto their opponents as well. So FUT's burst potential is insane. Here comes the Goddess of Death. Going to be sieging them down from above with a beautiful focus, but the Horde of Proteus into the backline to try and take them out. SmashNezz and Wyni are going to be CC, but Fate of both worlds keeps the team topped up as Final Dance look for a counter push.
A lot of resources used there by FUT Esports. We've still got 4 ultimates ready to go on the side of Final Dance. There goes the final charge as they do finally get a push here onto the side of FUT Esports. Meteor M is going to come down looking for a pick. Blocked off brilliantly there by Blaxou, and now they are really into the fight of it. They do see isidor coming out looking for a stun. Manages to find Oasis, but they're still not taken down. Ensong Inferno is going to rain down as well. Right now, FUT Esports with a huge defense. They got a couple of picks, buddy, and they were thrown backwards. But right on this point, Final Dance still cannot break through them.
They're trying to push on through the Cosmic Guard Amplifier to buy even more time. Well, Demon is not here. They still have a huge amount of bonus health and a 40% damage boost to hold them on through this. Leo's looking for anyone on the flank, sends in a tainted voltage to lock one down. Slopo takes out Milkboy, which is the main front line for Final Dance. And with no strategist ultimates, finally Wyni is able to charge up Visible Boundary to give extra seconds in overtime. And we're starting to flip with Slopo falling FUT and just starting to stagger. While Milkboy is still not here, that healing from the Invisible Boundary will buy them extra time.
Bro, if there was anything, oh damn, if there was anything to compare to my solo queue games, it's the fact that as soon as you hit 99%, the other team absolutely locks in and comes back. But right now, FUT Esports, they have got straight back onto this point, nearly capping it here, looking like we might get it to overtime, but we do see the Fate of both worlds coming out just to keep Final Dance on this point. And if they can take down this Venom, Isidor has to go on the retreat. Blaxou is going to come in to make sure that they're still continuing to touch. We do have a Captain America in the face of it to that Phoenix, and Closar is going to come through as well. We do see the Eternal Bond that's going to go straight onto the point with the Freedom Charge as well. It's all coming on out here, Tetcher. They continue to fight to get back onto it. It's overtime here. Horde of Proteus is going to come through. A huge connect, and this Goddess of Death is massive from DEAMONN because they were uncontested, and FUT Esports breaks the hold of Final Dance with an ace.
The Eye of Agamotto on the setup there was gorgeous. We saw Eye of Agamotto into the first setup, which again is always consistently reason.
Approach that we've seen here. FUT Esports really aggressive out of the gate.
And it's working out in their favor so far. Not able to, Final Dance unable to find any footage at this stage. But will they be able to turn this round as we're heading on into the second point? Ultimate-wise, we are seeing an advantage for Final Dance. They have the Kraken Impact, they have Meteor M, and they're building pretty close towards an Endsung Inferno. That's their one-shot potential. On the other side, closest is Rocket, that Cosmic Yard Amplifier, which is a directly countered by Endsung Inferno. So it's all about the timing of close eye.
Yeah, we do have Meteor M going to go on in here from Final Dance, looking to see if they can find a pick, and they find it onto Slopo. That is huge, taking out that team up as they try to approach here onto the backline as well. Milkboy will not be refused. It's going to be down to Isidor to keep FUT Esports on this point right now, because the entirety of Final Dance is looking to wrap around. The freeze goes onto Venom, and they're taken down.
Beautifully executed. This is Final Dance finally starting to get some momentum here. They take control of the point and they're starting to push on back, not willing to control the point. They want to try and just stagger, and they're doing so. Leo takes out Demon, keeps the pressure on, and Closer is desperately just trying to kite on back and not get themselves caught out of position as their team is forced off the point, and this choke point is being held beautifully by Milkboy.
And Final Dance still have the resource advantage right now, buddy. They've got 4 ultimates ready to go compared to the 2 on the side of FUT Esports. Was that an Endsung Inferno I heard? No, it wasn't, but it is going to be the invisible boundary coming out from Wyni here that's going to go for the approach, and SmashNezz has managed to find Slopo. Isidor has been blocked out here. We're going to see the fate of both worlds coming out as well. DEAMONN has to go on the retreat because right in front of them is the Captain America, and they find the KO. FUT Esports are falling one by one. A huge defense from Final Dance.
There is the opportunity for a portal, but they need to make sure they're covered because Final Dance are so pushed up. There is the risk that if they try to portal, they could just be caught by that stun from SmashNezz or Leo and get completely interrupted. Isidor is literally going for a backdoor right now to force a reaction and open up the possibility for FUT Esports to try and make the push. Pick up the freedom charge from lugiagoat to give everyone a little bit of extra bonus health. Pushing into the back, going to try and get onto the Rocket, but the extra mobility from Rocket will likely enable them to escape. On a Proteus, going to be blocked down, but Blaxou's still able to take out Leo.
That is huge, no longer having that damage coming through. It's all down to what this Goddess of Death can do. They're at least pushing back Final Dance, but 73% on that objective right now. They haven't found any picks just yet either. Kraken Impact ready to go. There is the Eye of Agamotto. Manages to find a stun onto Lugia, but they're broken out of it straight away. But coming on in is going to be the internal bond, trying to give FUT Esports a foothold on this objective right now as they have managed to push back. Final Dance looking for the picks here, and they have to continue to retreat. We see the approach coming in from Lugia again, staying on this point. Invisible boundary is going to continue to come on out here, trying to keep Final Dance on this objective, and that is exactly what they needed. They have found a pick onto Isidor. It is overtime here. We're about to say goodbye to Blaxou. So weak as they're sent back to the spawn room. Final Dance with another brilliant defense.
Slopo trying to step up, but they cannot do so. Blaxou cannot reach in time. Even a Trooper's Fist to make sure, even if there's no time left, you guarantee yourself that victory. And Final Dance even it up in map number 1 and of bonus health. There is a team up version with this by using the Penny Parker because their setup with the Rocket Network gives 50 bonus health as opposed to the 25 of the Rocket Battle Rebirth Beacon. Problem is, you're locked in on your picks. You cannot use these optimization strategies in this tournament unless you are committing to running Penny the whole time.
I don't think many people are going to want to do that.
I think you're probably right.
Vanguards, buddy. So that is why we see here Milkboy on that Magneto, Lugia on that Captain America, and here comes the Feast of Abyss from Isidor. They've got that reduced, the anti-heal, but it is going to be saved by that Fate of Both Worlds. Needed to pull that out, and that is a huge ultimate to get on the side of Final Dance.
When he's able to be taken down, but Slopo is mirrored on the other side. Milkboy landing the shots, piling on the pressure. They still have Meteor M. Lugiagoat's trying to create the opening, but it's Blaxou with the Maelstrom of Madness taking down Leo. Meteor M from a bomb to try and get onto the backline while Demon is getting completely choked out here. And the dive for the finishing blow to try and chase them down. Venom is currently just desperate to try and slow down Lugia, who is just in the backline, uncontested. The Strand is trying to take Patty Cake. Eye of Agamotto has to be used. Oh, but it's not enough.
You take down Lugia? There's a reason they are the GOAT, buddy. They are comfortable sat there with the shields coming through from Milkboy, and Final Dance take the objective for first point with a brilliant fight there. And now we've already seen it in the previous game, buddy. They held that objective for the majority of it. Final Dance are going to play a lot further up, as we can see here, trying to restrict FUT Esports.
The fact that FUT burnt so many ultimates there. In this current patch, it's so important to be winning the neutrals. Here on a Proteus from above, drops them low, but it's not enough thanks to the Eternal Bonds. Znost is creating a pathway for their team to push on through. Oasis is taken down. The Goddess of Death sieging from above. Wyni caught on the flank. And this is FUT Esports utilizing the beautiful push from Znost and then capitalizing to take out Final Dance and create an opening.
Yeah, I love that. Use the Eternal Bond to get yourself onto that point really quickly. And what that means is that Final Dance have to respond. They can no longer hold up that fight as far up as they were. They have to go back to that objective and stop that cap. And it opens up a huge amount of space for FUT Esports. And they absolutely capitalize on it.
Looking right now, healing coming in from downrange. You see the strategist both using healers that can actually heal around the corners here. Demon is taken down, being going to be brought back at the Battle Rebirth Beacon as the Beast from the Abyss comes on in, but there's no follow-up. So Isidor just buying a little bit of time, slowing them down, comes in for the defenses once again. Lugia being an absolute menace, being a problem, and needs to be dealt with, forcing out the escape from that Liberty Rush to get out of danger. Bane of both worlds coming on in, Meteor M round the corner through the tidal surge, but it's still enough. Quadruple quintuple, and Isidor is trying to get away, but they will make it 6.
Bro, we say Atom Bomb for a reason. Milkboy absolutely landed that one. Gets plenty of picks, and Final Dance are back on this point. They will take the lead in regards to percentage taken so far. And again, straight away, they respond by pushing really far up, trying to hold FUT Esports back to just this area before the spawn room. Will we see that play coming out from Znost again? They have 67% on their ultimate, but that can charge up pretty quickly with these heals.
Lots of pressure onto the point, sending in the Monstros to try and pressure onto the flank. A lot of damage coming in onto the Magneto right now to give them any opportunity to push on through. Milkboy needs some heals on the backline, has to fall back, but in the meantime, with all of those strategists focusing on Milkboy, SmashNezz and Leo are both gonna be eliminated. And FUT are once again likely gonna flip this. There's not really any reaction we can see from Final Dance. They're gonna burn the invisible barrier, but the Horde of Proteus still takes down Oasis, meaning we are single strategists with just an invisible boundary, trying to hold that point as Milkboy is giving everything to hold this, because the longer they do, even if they lose this fight, the closer they get to 99. Ayamagamoto, Leo tries to escape, but there's no way out. The healing output is good, but I don't think it's enough.
No, I don't, and we do see Final Dance going down a little bit one by one here. They've lost a lot of their DPS, no longer having Leo on that side. Eternal Bond is going to be used again to get into the backline here. All Final Dance as they use the Freedom Charge to get back onto the point. It is overtime right now, and it is FUT Esports that has the advantage, although they need Slopo to get there very quickly. DEAMONN is here looking to see if they can find the pick on the strategist, going to use that to get on the top side, but wiped out by Wyni, utilizing that pull, and that has changed the way that this fight is going to go on through. FUT Esports looking like they might need to go on a bit of a retreat here as we see the dive coming through again from Final Dance, but Lugia is picked up. This overtime will not be expended just yet. A great pull onto Slopo. They haven't found the KO just yet, though. Meteor M is going to rain on through, and they're looking for the right pick, and they find Blaxou. That's going to be Final Dance winning that Vanguard fight right now, as we do see Isidor diving on through. They are so weak, though. They're going to have to go on the retreat. Goddess of Death in the middle of the invisible boundary as well, trying to see if they can find the KOs. This is non-stop action here as the overtime continues to expend. Leyolaz looking to find if they can find that KO onto the Venom, and that they do. Isidor gone down. Vanguard matchup not quite working yet for FUT Esports. DEAMONN has been taken. It is ult after ult after ult here.
The portal coming back in for the reinforcements, and Final Dance, even though they've been outnumbered for most of this fight, delayed for 99 and are still holding this. And into the backline to try and burst on through. SmashNezz forced to retreat up to the high ground, and while FUT Esports have been needing to retreat, they can't, because overtime is a sliver away. Slopo falls. They need any reinforcements with Blaxou down. They can't maintain. They can't delay, and they cannot take this map. It's a matter of time now, literally delaying the inevitable, because Isidor cannot attack this, and Final Dance take the Celestial Husk.
Wow, that was a crazy final few moments here in that game, but you just saw Znost sat there in that sort of doorway, just pumping out healing, putting in an absolute shift to keep their Vanguards on that point. But you are right, you're at a stage where you cannot retreat and regroup. You have to continue to go on in, and then if Final Dance just find those picks and they kind of, you're feeding in there in sort of a 1v1 setting. Milkboy with a well-earned MVP.
For real, they were pressured so much. You can see they were taken down 5 times here. Leo was actually the one who was targeted the most on that side.
Teams are going to do coming into it, because as you've mentioned, you do have that wraparound.
The wraparound is available, and obviously there are some fantastic points for Rocket to place down their defensive positions here. But FUT will be starting on attack. The team that picks the map is the team that lost the previous round. They pick the map and which side they start on. So FUT opted to begin on attack. I will say, they picked this map. This is a really solid draft for them. This is a map where there's actually quite hard to portal back if you lose first point, because there are some very narrow hallways where you can't actually fit the portal. You have to move to the right doorway to get out. Although we might see Milkboy go for a portal trap. I doubt it, but there's a chance. But either way, you've set yourself up quite nicely with, once again, Rocket for revives. You set yourself up with the mod for really good poke. The Magneto is going to be able to hold the front, and Invisible Woman. Invisible Boundary covers basically the entire first objective. In terms of a draft, FUT's might be better map suited, but Final Dance have already proven that almost this exact draft is capable of breaking through these defenses.
Rightly so. We're going to go on that approach on that right-hand side here for FUT Esports. Just looking for more vision, our Final Dance, and they know the entirety of FUT is going to be around there. Lugia going in with the flank. That is why you have the Captain America here. They are pulled up straight away, but it's just keeping wary of where FUT Esports currently are.
Healing coming in from Oasis onto Milkboy, who has to retreat down to the lower ground. Cloak Levitation used a little bit earlier, but he'll be back quite shortly. Blaxou leading the charge on that Magneto. Here comes Captain America. Lugia poking on it, and you can see those are rocket balls bouncing on through, making sure that if FUT stay grouped up, they'll get some value. There's a team up offered there by the Winter Soldier, just so that Cap has an escape route if Lugia does extend out here, as Leo continues to poke on in. Keep the harassment up. Try and make sure that no one has the opportunity to step on in, and Venom is a little busy on the flank.
Yeah, if you can't find a pick into Leo here, you're kind of in a difficult situation, because those resets are going to continue to come on through, and that's a huge amount of damage that they rain down, as you see there. We do see Isidor diving on through, looking for a pick. Leo is found Slopo. That is the power of that hero, and now they see them fall as Milkboy finds Blaxou. FUT Esports getting stalled at the moment. We do see the fate of both worlds having to come on out from Final Dance here. Milkboy's ready to dive on through. Demon left alone against the world, and Final Dance with a brilliant defense.
Incredibly worthy trade. While they did use the fate of both worlds, Znost was using that Cosmic Guard Amplifier as well, so they traded ultimate for ultimate and didn't need to use anything else, cleaned out the point and delayed so long. Over half the time is gone, and we have had one ultimate used per team. That's how much Final Dance have been able to zone and delay at this early stage here.
That's the power of control here. It's really a matter of holding as much of this time as you can, because this is where you want to burn it. It's difficult to get this objective. I feel like this map is easier to defend, and that's exactly what we're seeing in these instances. Final Dance, they know exactly where FUT Esports are trying to approach here, and they continue to dive on through. Freedom Charge is going to come out here as well. They have managed to push them off, though, here on the side of FUT Esports, trying to get onto that point. Final Dance coming straight on through with it. Meteor M is going to come out. Endless Enson comes out as well, but they didn't find a pick with that Meteor M, buddy. They're going to use the Eternal Bond on the point. Invisible Boundary will come through, and SmashNezz managing to find Demon reduces that DPS massively. Unfortunately for FUT Esports, Slopo goes down as well. Both DPS is gone. Blaxou falls, and right now Final Dance are cleaning up.
It's another wipe, forcing them off the point here, and they just blew through all of their ultimates though. But the fact is, we're down to 1 minute and there's no portal for FUT Esports. This is a dangerous situation. FUT have to break this down. They don't even have a single third. This is a full hold currently, but what they do have, Feast from the Abyss, anti-heal, so that when Oasis gets back to that fate of both worlds, which is almost there, they might be able to counter it. Slopo has the same with the Tidal Dirge. Znost, Cosmic Guard Amplifier, damage boost into Horde of Proteus will basically one-shot base almost anyone in the game. Here comes the Cosmic Guard Amplifier. Keep an eye out for Slopo. If they try and send it in, Whale into the backline, finds no one, but they were able to take down Milkboy. If they can find a portal, they may be able to come back in and rejoin their team, but right now the focus is on trying to get to the point. Feast from the Abyss also not available. It was one of the half cooldown interrupted here, so now FUT are just having to force their way through while they build it back up. 90%, 93. They've got to keep that delay going. They're holding on to that symbiotic resilience as well to make sure they have the extra time. Feast of the Abyss at the ready, into the backline for the blow-up. Portal came back in to rejoin at the end. Song Inferno takes out Blaxou. Isidor gets that extra sustain from the symbiotic resilience, but Kraken Impact is staggering on through. Closer with the delay. Slopo falls. Leo still able to find the pickup.
Milkboy's refusing to go down here as well. They are managing to stay on this point as Leo's going to come through with the Kraken impact. They have a huge block on the side of Milkboy to stop that. Goddess of Death bringing down the damage. Final Dance putting in a huge defense. The Isidor getting pretty weak in the face of it, trying to brawl against Milkboy here, but they continue with the damage coming in from SmashNezz. They do manage to find the KO with Demon picking up Milkboy, and FUT ESPORTS gets themselves onto the point. Lugia trying to hold it. The fate of both worlds is going to be massive, Tetcher, as that keeps them on this point. It's so close to being capped. FUT ESPORTS have the advantage, but they continue to deal with this dive going on through, and with the Eternal Bond turned up as well. Will the Meteor M find the target? No, it doesn't. They do manage to cap the point, though.
Captain America ran off the point to try and block the Meteor M, and the point was capped. Lugia FUT's able to claim the essence of Null, and they begin to make our way onto point number 2 through a little bit of overtime, cutting that really close. And once again, reminder, the teams can't adjust. They can't swap these compositions. They are locked in. But that does mean those ultimates, they will just keep building and looping. Milkboy up to that Eye of Agamotto. Isidor has the Feast from the Abyss, and Slopo back to Horde of Proteus. Here comes the Feast from the Abyss for the anti-heal into the backline. But where's the follow-up? Where's the damage? Healing's coming on out back to the Target Storm of Wyni, and they are tanking through. Isidor is punished back to the CC of Leo.
And that is what you talked about, though, buddy. These hallways, they're so narrow. You don't have the team up there to back you up when you go in for that ultimate. And right now, Final Dance having this advantage. There is still a minute 30 on that clock with FUT ESPORTS trying to see if they can get it around this area. A Goddess of Death is going to come through, but they get weaked off it on the side of Demons, taken straight out of it. Eye of Agamotto looking for the backline here. Doesn't manage to find the stuns that they're looking for, and they have to go on the retreat. So many resources used here, but they're ready to go on the side of this Kraken impact.
Trying to use the map launch to get in for that Eye of Agamotto, but they were prevented thanks to Closer, keeping their team topped up. Demon as well with the Soul Drainer, keeping an eye on it as the Cosmic Yard Amplifier for the damage boost. Order Proteus is the double! The backline is devastated! And Slopo smashes through that front line. Milkboy falls. That is Doctor Strange, though. They might have Portal off cooldown, and if they do, they can potentially contest this one more time.
50 seconds left as well. You really want to get the stall here, give you a little bit of momentum coming into this next round. But I tell you what, one of the biggest threats to those strategists, buddy, is a massive whale across the map.
It's so much damage with the damage boost. The Cosmic Guard Amplifier, no portal seems to be available, which means Leo's going to have to frontline this Dagger Storm for a limited delay. Eternal Bond, Meteor M to try and blow it, and Wyni has to avoid placing healing for their team because they have to get out of danger to make sure that they are safe. But they haven't been able to set down enough of a healing pathway as everyone goes down. Blaxou taken out, brought back at the Cosmic Guard at the Battle Rebirth Beacon. Closer is also removed from the board, though, and that it will not be revived. Feast of the Abyss, fate of both worlds, and even with the healing reduction, there's no follow-up, meaning Isidor is just forced to retreat.
That they are, and warning, vehicle reversing here, although Isidor gets back onto it, manages to tap for that overtime, but doesn't get the cap, and it's going to go back again. They find the KO, and Final Dance just managing to get back to it, ready to hold them before that first point, Tetcher.
Using every bit of that Venom for the overtime, and Leo with the smart decision. I was wondering, just like, why is he cracking impacting just one person? If there's no time left,
if it wasn't for a touch off it from Captain America, they might have been able to hold them at that point. The defense they were having with just a couple of them left.
Want to be, and their positioning at the side door is definitely telegraphing a portal.
And it kind of also opens up the option for a pincer movement here from Final Dance if they want to try and pull FUT ESPORTS' attention away. And it looks like we're going to see a constant running already on the side of Lugia. They're going to go straight into it here by the looks of it from Milkboy, getting that portal set up to try and get a good bounce onto the back line.
You can see the reactions. FUT, they only saw one person. They know that they have to react. But there's the trap. They got Demon, but Demon is able to Astral Flock to escape down to single digits of HP. And Leo is able to chase them down and get that finishing blow.
Definitely not where they expected that ball to be at that moment. And FUT ESPORTS are thrown right back into this room, trying to use it as a little bit of cover and reduce that line of sight so that Final Dance have to make their way down if they're looking for these KOs. Isidor having to stay far back here on the Venom, getting back into into this room, but they do find the KO. Lugia goes down thanks to Demon, and they find Leo as well. You take out the DPS, and Demon live into their name.
And that's the power of this setup. Having these characters that can just hold and delay for as long as possible. Isidor can stand on a point essentially forever. The fact that Demon went down, they were brought back at the BRBs, and they were available for this contest. And then having that reset with the DEAMONN, allowing them to control the objective with extra damage. And if they land one hit, it puts pressure onto their opponents. That was very nearly a misclick or boundary. But FUT Esports composition, we were talking about it, with these choke points is so hard to deal with.
That it is, and they now have plenty of ultimates to be able to work with for this next defense. But if Feast of Abyss is ready, they've got two strategist ultimates as well for esports. It's all going their way at the moment. Final Dance are just trying to work out the best approach that they can take right now.
Into Inferno from SmashNezz. Demon drops low. Astral Flock will actually avoid the Ensong Inferno because of that, so they actually dodged 2 times they might have been picked off. Eternal Bond, Media M, downtown! Wyni is taken out. Lugia falls as well, and once again the Monstros begin to spawn. And it's all about the chase now. It's just going to be a full team reset. The rest of Final Dance realize they can't afford to be staggered, so they literally run at the point to force themselves to be taken out, prevent a stagger, and regroup as a team. That
is what you're going to need to do here. You're realistically looking at another 2 team fights with the time that we see on the board here. Tetcher just about to hit that 145. For the esports, you're absolutely right. They have the comp to hold this, and also the comp to respond no matter which direction Final Dance wants to take it. Looks like they want to continue to take this right-hand top side, but they're well prepared for it.
Here comes the move up. Extra pressure from Leo, seeing if they can catch them. If they land a bionic hook, they could be able to just create the snowball, but already BRB is likely off cooldown, likely already placed. You can in fact see it in the background there. Here comes the invisible boundary charge, and delay this as long as possible. Freedom charge to create the first opening. Eye of Agamotto. Force physics once again shuts it down as Hela is in the sky, but drops on down, but it's not enough. Still takes down 2 with the Goddess of Death.
Oh, Demon is an absolute demon as they find the triple. Isidor's going to take down Oasis, and that flank was on point from Isidor as well. They do manage to sneak Demon. No, they don't. They're kept up with the power of Znost on that rocket.
Leo going to be waiting for the opportunity to strike. Lugia's coming back in, and you can see them grouping up for a portal. One last chance to reinforce this. Monstro sent out as once again a pick from downtown staggers this potentially last push of Final Dance even more as they have to wait for SmashNezz.
Looks like they're going to go for the fight from the get-go here, trying to surprise them yet again. SmashNezz finally back, and now they're going to go straight on in, utilizing that shield to try and reduce the damage. But instead, what they're going to do is Lugia is going to go for the approach from the front whilst they get in from the back here. Good approach from Final Dance, but for esports respond instantly. Tetcher throw themselves straight back onto that point and force Final Dance to make the approach onto them. I love that approach.
Slopo sieging away as Lugia tries to wrap around. 4 seconds. The point has to be touched if Final Dance want any chance of continuing to extend their lead in this tournament. Here comes the Cosmic Card Amplifier. Horniponius for damage boost. It finds Leo. Lugia's down to the Meteor M. And this is immediately FUT, just showing how strong their team is. There's no portal reinforcements. Anti-heal coming in for the tidal surge. Down goes Isidor, but they are brought back at the Battle Rebirth Beacon. No one's close to the point. Eye of Agamotto can't even reach, and FUT with the defensive setup.
What a statement to make. You lose that first set in regards to the domination. You come into this and put up a massive defense, not even allowing the opposition to get 33% of the cap. Not even one part of it was capped, and they put up a huge defense. A brilliant response from that team.
What a setup. Isidor with the MVP there, able to put the pressure on, harass the backline repeatedly. 11 final hits from Demon, but Isidor only just behind them with 7. 16k damage, which is just 1k less than stole this draft from them.
Yeah, that is smart drafting from FUT Esports. I mean, let's see how it goes out, because Final Dance, if they picked this map, they must have had an idea of what they were wanting to use to bring into it. So, and also, Midtown is such a brilliant map. I love this map so much. One of my favorites to play on Convoy.
I love Midtown. My personal favorite Convoy map is Araco, but that's just because I'm a fan of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It gives me a lot of nostalgia when it comes to when I first heard that back in the day. But in this case, Final Dance, they have set themselves up with a very effective brawl composition, and FUT are going to try to not let them. That's where the difference comes in here. So can Final Dance dictate this fight with the bionic hooks, with the Phoenix being able to potentially try and burst through these walls, and Lugia, of course, pressuring on the backline? If Wyni can set up on defense with a firing squad, that will also make a huge difference.
Yeah, I do think the defense is brilliant from FUT Esports with what they've currently got, especially because Demon's going to be set up with that turret to drop a huge amount of damage. They're pushing this a little bit further back here, trying to rather hold them at the spawn where it's so easy for them to get that healing. They're going to back up slightly here, and the approach from Final Dance is going to be straight onto it. On the top side is Wyni, SmashNezz as well, trying to go for the flank here, managing to get a decent amount of damage there onto Isidor, and we see goodbye to Znost straight away.
That's the best character you can pick up. You take them out, the Battle Rebirth beacon goes away, so no revive coming in for FUT Esports, but the counter comes in onto SmashNezz, but FUT are still dropping low. Isidor tanks on through thanks to the healing of Closer, who's already charged up to Invisible Boundary, drops him. It's too late for Demon, who is taken down thanks to Lugia being a perfect addition on this flank with the Captain America.
Okay, so a brilliant approach so far from FUT Esports, but they are slightly holding them here. Final Dance just trying to get around that corner. The walls are holding up that line of sight right now. SmashNezz manages to find Isidor. Znost is bringing them straight back on in with that beacon though, and there we go. It's going to rain on down on the side of that Freedom Charge. So much damage raining through as Leo continues to be uncontested, strangling Prison to bound them all up, but a brilliant response on the side of the strategist. Ensong Inferno tries to rain on through. Gets stopped though as Blaxou finds a KO.
That was dominant. Straggling Prison to shut them down. The burst coming in and countering out Final Dance's setup. The Kraken Impact did not find the resets they wanted to, but already charged back up to 41%.
That's crazy.
So doing a fantastic job here. And while all this is happening, they're still charged on the God of Mischief, meaning that Wyni can come back in and take a Fate of Both Worlds. If they want to, take an Invisible Boundary if they can land it onto their opponents. Even a Freedom Charge if you're desperate. They have every tool they need to try and hold this. A Silent Seduction is going to be coming in from Final Dance to try and push this in a little bit further as FUT on the defense. They have the Final Judgment to push on in for extra damage, Invisible Boundary for zoning, but no one goes down. The positioning from these teams. Finally, Leo falls.
Okay, they're pushing them back as well as Final Dance as they get back on that push on the payload. Slopo here, pretty low down onto the ground, getting the assistance from those strategists as they see the Fate of Both Worlds is going to be pulled on out here. And a Mega Hurricane ready to rain on through onto the strategist. I mean, that is a solo Hurricane raining through. Strangling Prison's going to be used to take down Wyni here, but they just go for the copy, unfortunately. And the combos of this Ensong Inferno is going to see if they can connect. And Milkboy finding a double as Final Dance hold on for the offense.
Wyni just took Blaxou for a ride. They avoided a solo strangling Prison by baiting them into using it on the illusion. That was gorgeous. And Final Dance, finally Wyni falls, but they broke that line beautifully. And FUT, they just lost their foothold.
I mean, if you're talking about getting like a lot out of your opposition, making them use a strangling Prison on your clone is absolutely massive.
Diabolical.
Brilliant play by Wyni, and now Final Dance have the momentum as they continue to push around here. This is probably one of the hardest points to get through, though. The holds can be massive at this point.
Truly mischievous play coming in. Bionic Hook, Isidor already using that Iron Bulwark, gets absolutely taken down. And now Blaxou too far forward. Leo able to just unleash the damage output. And Final Dance with the momentum are smashing through this.
Kind of got to regroup now on the side of FUT Esports. That's why we see Final Dance so far up here, going to use this doorway as a line of sight breaker as they get ready to hold them right at this moment. So close to being able to find that second pop. A huge hit comes through from Leo as they continue to rain down the damage. Psionic Seduction is going to come through as well, hold them in that point. But Final Judgment from Demon, looking for the KOs. They haven't found any yet, Tetcher. That is a massive ultimate to not get anything off the back off. Oasis is going to throw out the Fate of Both Worlds. Demon finally finally finds SmashNezz, but invisible boundary here from FUT esports as they try to hold this point. It hasn't found the cap just yet, but that's been broken with a Fate of Both Worlds coming back in response from Wyni, and Final Dance are well back on this point.
Chains of Fate of Both Worlds coming in back to them. God of Mischief and Blaxou is creating a lot of zoning. Pushed into a choke point here though. Completely trapped. Iron Bulwark for the save. The Invisible Woman is still up here. Is trying to keep the team topped up from a choke point. There goes the escape from Leo to try and get away from the SmashNezz. Is sieging in as Luna will return from spawn. They're one of the fastest moving characters in the game, so we'll be able to reinforce the Slopo. Is trying to deal with this Captain America on the flank.
What a hold by FUT esports. We talked about this being one of the hardest ones to break through on. It's so difficult when you get held up here, but that's exactly what Final Dance are trying to break through with here. They've got their ultimate, on the side of SmashNezz, ready to go in. They've now finally got it on Milkboy, but the invisible boundary is going to be huge for FUT esports here. As Slopo's ready to go with the Omega Hurricane as well. They managed to find the picks as Demon finds Milkboy. Isidor managing to find the KO as well. Final Dance now have to regroup.
How did Wyni get away with that again? They were caught in that, and it was another illusion. Glorious purpose indeed. They're able to get away, return to their team, and they're already charged up to 95%, but SmashNezz falls again. Oh. The chain pickups are coming in from FUT right now, and they're still holding on to that Omega Hurricane, and they're very soon going to have Final Judgment again. They don't, however, have engage tools, unless they're planning on using Omega Hurricane as the setup. But this is where you'll see a lot of teams utilize this. They'll use Omega Hurricane to force a strategist ultimate, and then the other duelist will go for the finishing blow. That's likely what we could be seeing here with Final Judgment now also charged.
We've got 30 seconds left here as well. Final Dance have to get onto this payload to at least cap that overtime, and that's why we're seeing the approach from Lugia being straight onto it. Let's see the combos coming through from FUT esports. They have the ultimates to defend this as Final Dance try and go in, seeing if they can find a good pick here. They have got the Fate of Both Worlds already as Final Judgment comes on out here. Demon manages to find Leo. Meteor M doesn't find the connection that they're looking for. We still see Wyni on that side. SmashNezz looks like they want to dive on in. Doesn't find anything with that either, as Oasis now utilizes their Fate of Both Worlds, and that double Fate of Both Worlds has worked a treat for Final Dance as they get it so close to being on that edge. But this is an invisible boundary paired with a damage from Demon that is managing to connect on the side of Oasis. They get KO'd, and the Strangling Prison is what you need to pull everybody into the cannon of damage from the incredible Demon.
That was over. They had Final Judgment and Omega Hurricane, and Final Dance lived it. And that fight was over until Blaxou, the Groot legend, the final inches, final seconds, and final charges.
That it did, and now FUT esports knows where they need to
start to be able to capitalize. The firing squad, but Loki is a projectile-based character. This is where Storm could be the good counterplay for FUT here. If they can land those spots, take out the clones, they may be able to get some value. Although Slopo already taking quite a lot of hits. The visible barrier coming out, the Guardian Shield coming on in will keep that flyer topped up.
Demon picks up Wyni's clone straight away, and it looks like Final Dance are going to go for the up ground here, seeing if that's going to give them the advantage, as Slopo's going to try and rotate round as well from the inside. Leo is just going to continue to rain down damage from above, as we see Lugia keeping onto the point, trying to hold them back here. Dive down again from closeout as they try and keep up the point. Lugia has to go on the retreat. Isidor is trying to bring the action to SmashNezz, who's looking for the approach from the flank.
Aniko comes on in, but Guardian Barrier is trying to allow Blaxou to get out, even as that Iron Bulwark. They dropped everything to try and get them out of there, but FUT were body blocked too much. Final Dance able to get that pick up. SmashNezz getting picked off here. Demon just on point with the reaction time, seeing them descend from the sky, but a lot of time is being bought here by Final Dance. It's just the damage output from FUT. Damage boost onto Punisher, even Groot's high damage. The problem is that Bionic Hook just keeps landing.
Oh, and here we go. It's going to be the see the Cracker Impact's going to try and come back as well, just to see if they can find the connects, and it hasn't got a reset here. They are nearly ready on the side of Final Judgment, and it seems like that's what FUT esports is waiting for. They've managed to pull out Wyni's ultimate, and they've copied the Fate of Both Worlds. Oasis is going to hold theirs in pocket for that Final Judgment, I expect.
Kraken Impact used to escape there. Leo dropped it to go for an engage, but realized it was a bad idea. He used it to disengage. So like you said, it's going to to come down to Final Judgment, potentially off of a straggling prison. Beautiful use of the force physics from close on to prevent Lugia from escaping and allow Demon to pick up yet another finishing blow with Lugia so close to that freedom charge. This is the opportunity with 3 bodies on the point for FUT to try and grab that first point and push their way in. Wyni set up on multiple high grounds, but Lugia does make it back in time.
Okay, so now this is where you want to expend as much as you possibly can, and a Mega Hurricane is going to rain on through already, trying to hold up, and they pair it with a Strangling Prison. We do see Oasis popping out, that bit of both worlds. Ensong Inferno is going to go in as well, but the Invisible Boundary is up, and Final Judgment is here. Can they find the picks though? Because they've got the healing from the strategist, and it's constant crowd control, trying to connect as Leo goes on in, finds a connect, they get the double KO. That's a triple, as Final Dance come out of this with a brilliant defense.
What a setup! The Omega Hurricane came on in. Demon Final Judgment, but Lugia was too slippery. Literally just ran around, distracted Demon, while Leo descends behind a pillar to escape. And all of that was enough time for, enough delay for Kraken Impact to come on in once the defensive tools were on cooldown. Beautiful delay by Final Dance here with just a few meters to go. They bought themselves precious extra seconds.
Now we're under a minute here for FUT Esports. They need to charge up these ultimates and utilize as much as possible to at least get their cap. They've managed to get the payload moving yet again. Milkboy's going to continue to use this cover here as we do see the approach coming in from Blaxou, trying to see if they can find them. Oh, Lugia right in the back of that front line, but Blaxou's going to find them and take Leo as well. Oh, buddy, that's a triple coming out for Blaxou as Closeout finds Oasis. FUT Esports utilize all the resources they have to take that cap.
One ultimate is sometimes all it damage boost plus bonus health, and other than that, that was essentially a neutral fight, but that bonus health makes such a difference. But the fact that FUT are willing to take these fights with only single ultimates shows that they are willing to take fights on neutral ultimates that we've already seen, and they seem to be doing pretty well on those, assuming that Leo does not land those bionic hooks. So it's really coming down to who gets the setup, who gets the engage. Straggling Prison is at the ready, but they'll likely hold on to that as they don't have a lot to follow up other than Groot's own damage output with a little bit of a boost from the Goddess boost.
They're going to be ready there. They've got the Invisible Boundary just waiting for an oppressive one. No, in fact, they're going to go for it here. They do manage to pull them in, but it is going to be the shields going up. They find Milkboy, no longer having the Vanguard assistance there. Winnie's going to get on out, but David set up the turret on the payload. They know this is the point that they need to cap. They found some good KOs onto Final Dance. They're going to have to regroup, but they have to get back here very quickly, and Damon's very close to that ultimate. Omega Hurricane ready to go down instantly here as they have the advantage to FUT Esports. Invisible Boundary is ready to go. Isidor is going to pop the Meteor M, trying to find Oasis, just trying to keep their team on this payload right now. They don't find them with that, and here comes the Ensong Inferno on the flank. Doesn't connect either, but they do get their ultimates ready to go on the side of Wyni. Damon's going to pop out the Final Judgment here with the Omega Hurricane paid up as well, but still not enough damage. Milkboy goes down thanks to Blaxou. Oasis is going down to 0 health and back up to 100 with the assistance off of that Fate of both worlds. They won't be stopped right now, Tetcher.
Cosmic Yard Amplifier is picked off. Leo with the beautiful targeting there, but they haven't been able to find any eliminations. Lugia finally falls. Culling Turret coming out for Demon. Greedy opening. Psionic Seduction to buy extra seconds, but you cannot stun a turret. It is inanimate. They take down Leo, and FUT continue to break the lines. And it's going to be FUT taking the lead in this best of 7.
Oh, that felt like a brilliant defense from Final Dance because they only had so many resources, Tetcher. They were coming at that with everything on the side of FUT Esports, and they had a lot of damage on regards to the Omega Hurricane, the Final Judgment, the Strangling Prison. So really, that was a good defense from Final Dance, but it is going to be FUT Esports that takes this so far.
Shot this draft. This is weird, and this is potentially going to be one of the either fastest or slowest games of our lives.
We are about to find out. Now, the thing is...
Hey, it was Central Park.
You're a genius.
I'm getting good at this.
You're a genius. So, if FUT Esports gets the win here, they are technically on match point. They can take the entire thing with the next game, and that is a brilliant amount of momentum that you can have as a team because it means Final Dance, they have to win out. They have to win every single game from then on if they want to take this victory. So, FUT Esports looking to take that momentum and roll with it.
Let's look at this. The Hela Demon has just been dominant. They stole away Leyolaz's Winter Soldiers, and Leo is on the Star-Lord. Wyni, the invisible woman player, is on the Iron Man. Lugia, who has been known to play stuff like Wolverine as a second Vanguard, is going to be on the Iron Fist this time. Oasis, the only one stuck on a strategist, and it's a recently nerfed one, so Oasis is just going to have to be reliant on those hit scans, has droned Wyni as they're going for a flank.
All about this matchup between these two flyers and what Demon can find with the Hela. They've managed to see where they're at. The vision is there as they try and poke through and get a first pick, a huge amount of damage, and that is the power of the chest beam that will try to connect and get those clean picks.
Unibeam is so much damage if you can track. Oasis is going to be the first to fall. Blaxou showing how valuable Thorn can be against these flyers these days. It makes such a difference. SmashNezz on their way back in as well. Lugia charging up slowly, but of course can't really go in alone. They're sort of playing a pseudo Vanguard here on this Iron Fist. Just going to be looking for any kind of flank. You can hear that Captain America shield bouncing around. The posturing. Lugia trying to bait it before. He catches him, knows he's there, but it's onto Wyni, who's forced to dash away. You can see Mjolnir being tossed in, chase him with the Awakening Rune, but will not find the pickup as Wyni flies for a health pack.
Right here, though, FNATIC just don't know how to approach this at the moment. Every time they do, Milkboy is going to try and come through using the Venom, but they have to get out as soon as possible, buddy. Right now, for esports, they have the approaches, but Lugia is going to find a good pick onto Blaxou. Isidor's going to find SmashNezz, and again, FNATIC have to have a conversation about how they want to approach. They're going to go back onto the top side. Znost is going to bring through that healing, the Adam Warlock combo, but Lugia goes in, and Fists of Fury is going to connect onto free.
Iron Fist is the key factor in this setup. If you can take anyone down, you make the plays and you keep momentum for your team. Oasis finding a perfect angle, utilizing verticality to find the right angle for that extra healing with the Stark Protocol, and first point goes to Final Dance.
Let's go. Now they have a long way to push, and they do not have that much on the regards to strategist healing. Oasis will be here. They've got their Rage of Ultron ready to come through, and that might be needed at this first chokehold as FUT ESPORTS look to see if they can get the top ground, and we do see them diving on in on the side of DEAMONN. They're going to have to back it up straight into these ruins as again Leo goes down thanks to Wyni connecting on the side of Znost as well. FNATIC have a little bit of an advantage here, and Dance of Butterflies is going to be used to try and see if they can find these strategists, but it's just clones that they connect with. Rage of Ultron's going to come on through, and Oasis finds a double pick, looking for more here as 4 is on the retreat.
The momentum, the power, it's too much. Final Dance are chasing them back. The Squirrel Ratatoska is moving so slowly because no one's on it, because they're busy fighting in their opponent's spawn. The laser, Oasis with the Stark Protocol is just trying to pile on extra pressure, and the Living Chi is awakened. Lugia is 1v3 in there, cannot sustain, but bought so much time and took out closer.
I mean, Blaxou with...
We're going back in already, but Black Panther is a bit squishy. The Iron Fist fits it. Wolverine is quite tanky, but Iron Fist is about sustained pressure. Wolverine is about grabbing someone and then just percentage damage taking them through, and Iron Fist is filling in that role as well, being very hard to pick off due to the extra bonus health that they get from their attacks, and the percentage damage is dealing with the, quite frankly, not prepared frontline of FUT, because Iron Fist is sticky. Captain America cannot dash away. The Thor cannot dash away, and there's that laser healing coming in from the Ultron, but the Freedom Charge is going to be activated from FUT to try and take it, and it's a clone from closer.
Wow, okay, so FUT ESPORTS with a brilliant defense here. They've only used 2 ultimates as well. Resource management is on point here as Demon takes down Wyni. Final Dance, we're going to pull out the Galactic Legend here. Are they going to find the picks because the healing's coming through straight into that room to try and get out of that line of sight? Freedom Charge is going to come through from Isidor as well. FUT ESPORTS have still only used 3 ultimates. They've got another 3 ready to defend this, as Oasis is the only one on Final Dance's side with it. Brilliant defense, Tetcher.
What do you say about your draft when your best strategist ultimate to God of Mischief is a Captain America Freedom Charge? But the fact is, it's the correct choice. It's bonus sustained. Wyni Invincible Pulse Cannon onto Demon. It felt personal, and it probably was. Blaster Mirage from Leo in the backline is trying to cause a bit of pressure, but they're a bit outnumbered. Will back away. In the meantime, SmashNezz has the drone. Dance of the Butterfly forward of the delay. Oasis topping up Wyni. The Butterfly does a lot of damage, but taken down with the Soul Drainer.
All right now, though, FUT ESPORTS managing to hold them underneath that 2-minute mark. There's going to be the Karmic Revival ready to go on in again. FUT esports are ready to jump straight back on to this defense. Final Dance haven't managed to cap it back yet. The vehicle is reversing. FUT are showing themselves to be a wall that can't be broken.
This is a problem for Final Dance. Their composition worked so well because they were able to pick off people individually and then find a choke point where they could fight. This area is wide open.
Yeah.
It's so much more difficult for Final Dance to find these correct angles, so Demon can just check them as they approach. You can see just finding shots on anyone who shows themselves, so no one is able to push in because you can't just trust your strategist to heal you. You don't have any.
Oh, jumping onto Slopo is not probably a wise decision as those hits come through from that revolver. I think DEAMONN's probably wishing that that wall was destroyed on this environment as they were looking to find a pick onto Oasis, but Rage of Ultron is going to come through, trying to provide the healing and damage, but FUT esports haven't been caught out by it just yet. Again, retreating down to this corner, getting out of that line of sight. Goddess of Death is going to come on through, and Blaxou finds Milkboy. FUT esports still holding strong as Demon finds Leyolaz and looks for more as Wyni falls.
This is FUT locked in. They have full setup here. They've got Loki clones on the high ground. They've got the pressure coming in from double hit scan characters in the form of Adam with that extra damage from his main attacks and the quantum magic, and also being able to get even more damage from Demon, who is also hit scan on that Hella. They've got the pressure on, meaning Lugia is once again got the weight of the world on their back with 5 seconds remaining. Milkboy's touching the point, symbiotic resilience, but there's no healing to make value out of it. They touch it. Lugia coming on through, but taken down by Slopo with the Kraken impact. God of Thunder wipes out once more. Wyni taking out Blaxou. Kraken impact one more time, but Dance of the Butterfly does not count as a physical presence on the point.
Unfortunately not. So Final Dance managed to push it that 101 meters, and now FUT at those flyers.
Just absolute clay raven shooting, clay crow shooting, whatever you want to call it. But again, also close.
And realistically, outside of an invincible pulse cannon, what is going to stop a freedom charge coming at you on the side of Final Dance? You can't get a KO on it because of how much self-sustain that you've got. So I like that approach.
So here we go, Final Dance. They now have to set up on defense with one of the squishiest lineups I've ever seen in Marvel Rivals. This is going to be difficult. Luki is going in for the 1v1, which well, this is Iron Fist's kind of ideal situation, a 1v1, but no respect to the 1v1 from FUT esports. They're able to go on in and take out Lugia, but again, fast rollouts. Iron Fist is quick, can make it back to the point. This means they can reinforce and just harass forever. Iron Man building up ult charge. This is an ideal situation for him. Gets hit by the tainted voltage, dove on in, has to retreat, needs the drone to top him back up, but that was a beautiful shot coming in from Slopo.
Yeah, I mean, already onto the point, though, as they look to find some chaos, and Blaxou's going to find 2 here, buddy, and now Final Dance on the back foot, trying to go on in is Leo, but it's going to be Demon that connects with the headshots, and Final Dance have lost the cap.
Iron Fist for every extra delay. This is literally just throwing bodies at the point to buy as much time as possible. You know you lost this, but you know you grabbed it relatively quick. So if you can buy time, you've set yourself up for later. However, we're now in the exact same situation. Wide open area with incredible hit scan characters and FUT having that Thor that's doing so much pressure to the Iron Man and that Ultron.
A lot of places to launch themselves onto those flyers here as well. I mean, you don't usually expect to see that from afar, but I can guarantee you that's what they'll be looking for. And right now, they've got 5 minutes on the clock to build this around this corner. It's a mountain to climb here for Final Dance to hold up this defense. And this is why Isidor's trying to pull them so far back and open up even more space as they do look to get a pick here. How they managed to get out of that is crazy.
Lugia able to escape, will meditate, but meanwhile, Bratatoska is pushing on in. Rage of Ultron for the zoning potential to buy every extra second to heal it up, and Wyni is already down and had invincible pulse cannon. If they lose this before that ult can come in, that would be devastating. SmashNezz with the Dance of the Butterfly. Demon's taken down, but Karmic Revival is bringing him back one more time. Isidor returns, and Blaxou's now going to be looking for the opening, but taken down with Milkboy, the anti-heal.
That was a feast to be held by Milkboy as they find the triple, and now FUT have been aced. They're going to have to regroup and recap, but I tell you what, they've got 4 minutes on the clock, Tetcher. They have time to regroup and come back to this.
Invincible Pulse Cannon and soon to be Living Chi, Galactic Legend, just around the corner. On FUT, they have Kraken Impact. They don't have Goddess of Death. Invincible Pulse Cannon! Finds the backlines! Znost is sent to the spawn room again. They have the cocoon, revive themselves just to keep pressure on the board. Demon gonna be making their way back from spawn. They have the Astral Flock, so they can reinforce this, and with Wyni down, Oasis down, numbers are in their favor to make the point. Lugia has to Living Chi to buy time. Leo Galactic Legend, but the healing output from the Freedom Charge might be too much.
Not only that, but they've got Closeout providing plenty of healing as well as they find the KOs. Blaxou's going to find Oasis. SmashNezz manages to find Pulse, but Slopo takes down Lugia. And there's the Goddess of Death connecting as well. FUT Esports have the pressure. They're going to take this and bring us to a 3-1 set so far.
One win left for FUT to become your FNATIC assembled champions. So close to victory here. Last dance. They are literally on their last chance.
That they are, but they have to do what we consider to be one of the hardest things to do in esports, and that's technically now a reverse sweep. We currently have a full match point for FUT Esports. If they take this next game, they take the entire tournament. Final dance have to win out from here on, and that is not an easy task.
I'm sorry, 11?
Nation on Krakoa.
Frog.
Let's go. We get Red Bull anyway. Yeah, I think the team up is going to be vital here for FUT Esports, and Final Dance have got a little bit of a mission to try to limit those two, especially DEAMONN. Of course, you have to take them down here because they're going to be looking for those headshots. SmashNezz is going to be in a difficult position, and so is Wyni. They use the portal straight away, getting themselves onto this point as the rotation from Final Dance comes through.
Root going to be setting up a couple walls here for a little bit of zoning so that their team can try and punish anyone who steps through these choke points. Already a lot of pressure coming in from DEAMONN. Lugia has dropped incredibly low, but will tank on through. SmashNezz also not able to take the duel versus DEAMONN as of yet. But the healing output, pretty solid this time for Final Dance. They're not going to make the same mistake as last time, but already pushing in. isidor taken out. They try to come on in with the spawn bomb, but the regeneration domain is allowing Final Dance a little bit of a free move up here.
That it is. DEAMONN's going to have to go around this backside to make sure they're not yet targeted, but while FUT Esports had a good foothold, Final Dance has absolutely broken it, and that was on the back of Lugia going on in with that diamond form choke holding onto the side of Blaxou, and unfortunately FUT Esports have lost the cap.
Final Dance able to take the first cap here, building up towards those big ultimates. Invisible Boundary, one of the fastest charging ultimates in the game, outside of potentially into a 3-0-3 setup. Moon Knight charging that hand of Conchu is probably the fastest charging one in the game. Maybe Jeff, if you get everyone standing in a row. But Invisible Boundary is hugely up there. Starting to push on forward. Blaxou taking a lot of damage on this approach, which is where SmashNezz is trying to take advantage of exactly what we saw from Hella earlier. DEAMONN looking for an angle to see if they can get some pressure onto him.
You've got to keep yourself like with a little bit of line of sight breaking on the side of SmashNezz, because DEAMONN will 100% connect where they can. Trying to see if they can go for a pincer movement here on the side of FUT Esports, as Isidor's going to come on in from that side. Lugia is going to pull on out with the Psionic Seduction. Znost is going to use the Eternal Bond, but it's not used it to effect just yet as Milkboy connects onto Isidor. Leyolaz is going to find Znost, and right now Final Dance have the advantage as they find two more and they wipe them out one by one, Tetcher.
This is strong. Final Dance taking control here, and they are able to push them back once more. And FUT Esports already the 69% for Final Dance, but are running out of time. Portal, 43 seconds of remaining before it comes back off. They might just save that for the next point, as once again this is domination, best out of 3. So being able to make their way onto the point, they have all of their ultimates. She keeps an eye on Blaxou. If they allow that straggling prison, that could be enough for a flip here. It's all going to be up to Wyni to see if they can get that regeneration domain, which will give time for them to potentially get a clone onto Oasis.
Depends if FUT Esports want to utilize all their resources here. DEAMONN's going to go on in with the Goddess of Death, and the shields are straight into response as Milkboy goes up with the Meteor and finds Slopo. Lugia taking down Isidor, and Leo finds DEAMONN. Final Dance, every time we are in a team fight here, Tetcher, they find the perfect targets, and one by one FUT Esports struggle.
That Final Dance was more of a what?
Can utilize any approach they want to go for, but especially they have a strategist all ready to go for this first fight.
Ultimate economy very in favor of FUT, but like you say, strategist ultimates are some of the most important in the game, and Wyni does have one, and that means he has all of them. He
so
can copy whoever he wants, assuming he can get that line of sight. And once again, Isidor, realizing how hard it was to push on through Final Dance, they choose to take the early control point by portaling in.
That they do, and that this, I mean, they tried that approach last time as well, but Final Dance had a brilliant response instantly as they try and see if they can get a pick onto the Groot here, but the wall has to be broken down, giving them a little bit of more space, but in the meantime, they are right on that point. Fate of Both Worlds is going to be used, so is the Eye of Agamotto. Closer providing the healing here. It's going to be answered by Wyni's on the side with the Fate of Both Worlds as well. Right now, Final Dance, they have lost Lugia. They're trying to see if they can get onto this point. The invisible boundary is going to be used as well. Right now, Blaxou is getting so weak, they have to back on up. Final Dance again using the endless fire song is going to come through. They've got the approach onto the objective here. Tetcher just managing to get through to it, but until the Eternal Bond comes back and FUT ESPORTS try and take a foothold.
Kraken impacts are still resetting through here, but there's no way to get the finishing blow. Sonic seduction on the returning Lugia, who is taking that first in the fight, but the Groot Wolf preventing it from getting value. Oasis is able to take down Znost after the expiration of that extra healing from the Eternal Bond. And attrition, thy name is Final Dance. They control the point again.
Wow, I mean, attrition is 100% the right thing. Final Dance just continue and continue and continue to make sure that they can win these points. The damage, the sustain coming in from their strategists, and Wyni utilizing that ultimate at that point managed to keep them on it. Final Dance now, as we saw in the previous sub-map, they have the cap and they can hold it.
Now, FUT ESPORTS looking for an opening. They have the Goddess of Death, Eye of Agamotto, on cooldown. They're about to have that Strangling Prison. They may just drop it even without the Horde of Proteus, which is the one-shot combo, but they're struggling to get Final Dance together. We talked about it earlier. They have the shields, Magnetic Barrier, Might Aegis. They have so many tools to stop this, even Guardian Barrier, to try and stop people getting tethered in. Here comes the Goddess of Death. BDM immediately drops to buy time to catch Demon. It finds nothing! Might Aegis to block the Meteor M! They found nothing there!
I mean, Demon trying to see if they can get a flank on with that Goddess of Death. A brilliant response from Final Dance, hearing that and responding instantly, but they did have to use the ultimate for it, as we see FUT ESPORTS trying to get an approach here, but it's going to be Leo that finds Demon. That's a lot of DPS you no longer have to get onto this cap, as we see a nice break in from Isidor here, going to use the Fate of Both Worlds alongside the Psionic Seduction here, and it's a Horde of Proteus. Slopo finds Leo, and they have the advantage until they get hit by that Psionic Seduction. Here comes the Endless Intel coming in, and again, invisible boundary paired by Wyni means Final Dance still have hold of this cap.
Znost going to be coming in here with the Eternal Bond. Was going to flee after casting it initially to make sure that they are safe into the backline and create an opening for Isidor. And so Inferno found a little bit of extra damage, but not able to get the finishing blow here. Demon with the Goddess Descent, tracks onto SmashNezz and takes the flip. And FUT ESPORTS are back on the board.
That is exactly why you can never count FUT ESPORTS out. Demon with a brilliant snipe there, and finally FUT ESPORTS managed to find themselves a cap, 96% on the board for Final Dance. But we've seen, whilst FUT ESPORTS can get themselves a good foothold, Final Dance have become experts in this game at breaking it.
They have no cooldowns left though, 87%. Kraken Impact just came up, 91% for Milkboy on the BTM, and Lugia just creeping up 81% of the way towards that Psionic Seduction. But they have literally nothing. 75%, 79%. 78%, all for these big abilities, but until then, they've just got to be able to kite back and avoid the meteor, which they do! It's the evasion! The Silent Seduction going to be catching onto Slopo, who is absolutely doomed, and that is once again going to be a counter cap, and with this, Closer has to commit the Fate of Both Worlds just to buy time. Isidor is still in the fight, Strangling Prison to buy time, to flip it, but Invisible Boundary says there is no victory visible to you this day. Portal comes out in a safe position, but it's the wrong side. They portaled it to try and give some cover, but they didn't think that all their team would be gone off the point, so they weren't able to get through the right side of the portal. They get zoned away, and that is gonna be Final Dance with a beautiful hold.
As we expected, Final Dance are gonna bounce back here and get this back to a 3-2 position, but still FUT ESPORTS are on that match point. So again, they have to continue to win on out here if they want to take the victory.
They really do. This is coming down to the wire. 3-2. Look at the statistics. Really put themselves in a position of safety. They have a much more punishing composition, whereas Final Dance, they actually have a much safer composition and also Wolverine. So that is where their chaos comes in. SmashNezz nearly gets popped out of spawn, but tanks it ever so barely.
Okay, so this is it, trying to hold them at this first corner. Straight in the face of it, though, is Blaxou as they try to take all of this damage away that's going onto the side of Slopo. And we see the rotation here, trying to see if they can pick up Demon up on that top side, or at least getting them out of that line of sight.
Group Walls place in beautiful positions, forcing positionings that might not be favorable for Final Dance as they try to make their way up this ramp. Leo taking advantage of Logan's shorter stature to take cover behind the cart so that they can move in and punish someone if they try and go aggressive. Like Isidor is currently just on the cart, being the one to delay this, trying to just keep the pressure, get the knockbacks as they charge up for that Assassin Spear. Assassin's Charge, looking for Wolverine, but just cannot latch on.
Not an easy target with that Adamantium buddy, as they do manage to get a dive through as well. Looking with the Strangling Prison straight out of the door. Closeout's going to find a Wyni. Blaxou trying to reduce the approach that Final Dance had as Milkboy picks up Isidor. And right now you've got to go on the retreat as Final Dance find the KOs, and Oasis has access to this Fate of Both Worlds, has to be responded with, and the end song Inferno goes in for a big boom.
Taking down the entire team, and it doesn't matter how fast Angela is, she's not reaching this in time. If Phoenix can get in the way, rushing to the ramp, but with 2-1, there's no way. Isidor will back away to take a more defensive position.
Wise decision there, and as we see already, looking for some picks on the side of Final Dance, throwing up to the side of FUT ESPORTS. We see how the approach from Leyolaz is going to continue to come through. They are looking for those dives, looking for those picks to throw them into the backline of Final Dance. Got to be wary though of Isidor up in that sky. They're looking to find those picks and pull them back that way. Look at them constantly looking in the sky for this, and Wolverine nearly finds them.
The save coming in there from Closer, keeping them out of those claws. Znost looking into the backline once again with the help of the Goddess of Death. They've managed to zone them into the choke point, and this is where Blaxou on that group sets it up. And Hayamamoto came on in from behind, but Kraken impact. It's an engage from Final Dance that FUT are not letting go, but Slopo still falls. Strangling Prison to try and stop it, but it's the shield from Strange preventing anything from coming through. And Final Dance are not going quietly into that Dark Knight, but Isidor is still in the backline, still holding the cart still, but while they're doing that, their team is getting spawn camped.
And it just means that Final Dance are going to waltz on through this second point, buddy. We've got one more team fight to try and hold them at the doors if they've got that capability ready to come through. They're regrouping here, trying to see if they can find any more charges onto their ultimates. Has to go around this top side because Leo was looking to see if they can find a pick.
This is so dangerous. Heaven's Descent coming in from above, and Angela is trying to meld on through the front line as the siege comes in to try and counteract Slopo. Is pulling in, but the Fate of Both Worlds is just too much healing for the counter. Isidor is taken down. Milkboy is able to chase them through this invisible boundary to buy extra time because they know they can't afford to let Final Dance move freely, because if they do, on defense, Final Dance portal back. Last stand for Final Dance to try and burst on through, but they're running out of bodies. The Strangling Prison, Blaxou with the delay, and we are now 3 minutes remaining, but FUT ESPORTS hold.
Oh, baby, a triple coming out of Blaxou there to hold on that defense. And that was so needed, Tetcher, because if Final Dance had managed to get that card, they were looking at a ridiculous amount of time in the bank to push that final section of this map. So realistically, that was a brilliant hold for FUT ESPORTS. They need to reduce this damage. Portal is going to come on through. Interesting time to use it. Realistically, that might restrict what they can do at overtime.
Trying to pressure, trying to siege, setting up the group walls, just in case anyone goes for a flank. And just try and stop Angela from wrapping around onto that high ground. Kraken impact, Goddess of Death, Eternal Bonds already being utilized here, and Wyni is deep in that backline, setting up. Here comes Znost with their own Eternal Bond. Here's the Meteor M to focus. Znost is down, losing all that healing as Demon takes to the sky. Ensong Inferno is popped mid-air. SmashNezz unable to find the value they need and is in fact focused down as Demon is finished off in exchange. Oasis, another character with a hit scan option, takes the hit scan win.
Ready to go is Leyolaz. We see the eye of Agamotto coming through, and Lugia is going to connect for a double KO as Final Dance get ever so close to holding this point. The ruins are on up. Leo is trying to shred through them with these claws as they have to be wary of Isidor constantly diving in and out, but they find the cap with just under 3 minutes for the final section.
This is bad news for FUT. Not only are they losing points, every point is so much more impactful when your opponent has Doctor Strange and you don't. Not only that, they have Wolverine, who can isolate points individually, remove you from fights for at least temporary amounts of time, which means less time on the point, which means you could lose in overtime. This Final Dance's composition works even better on defense, and FUT will be the ones who will have to find those isolations with that Winter Soldier, with that Hela, and with Angela, because otherwise this might be going to a Game 7.
Oh, this is the hardest point to push on this map. We see the invisible boundary coming out. It's going to be paired with the fate of both worlds here, trying to answer each other in kind. Strangle in prison, paired with the Kraken impact, but there's so much healing, Tetcher. You can't break through it until Leo does exactly that. SmashNezz comes in, and it's a triple KO as Final Dance find the connections. Demon, though, managing to keep FUT Esports in this at the moment, but a brilliant response from Final Dance.
Heaven's Descent came in from Isidor, but their team was already gone. There's no follow-up. It was simply a delay to buy time. Leo is literally trying to catch them at the door, but the cart moves on in. The goats are heading towards the Yggdrasil tapping operation to stop it coming in. Angela once again onto the point, staying low to not get caught out as Milkboy is on the flank. They've got the dunk available to try and counter this. Daggerstorm for the delay to hold this through. Here comes the goddess of death into the invisible barrier to buy time. I am Agamotto onto Slopo, and the barrier does nothing!
Oh, that's a huge shame. You're going to take away the biggest ult that FUT Esports have. Meteor M is going to come through as well, and they just turn around and use it on Znost. They take out a clone while Demon has been slain, and right now on the edge of this is Final Dance looking for the full push victory. They're throwing everything they can at it, Tetcher, but you can't defeat Final Dance here.
And this is amazing news for Final Dance. They now have reinforcements with the portal that's going to be incredibly difficult to break.
Yeah, especially when you have them trying to get that approach onto Demon, because
them a couple times with that little bit of an extra stun that the Phoenix has. It's been working beautifully, and this is a composition, if you look at the front line, that would struggle into an Angela. Both Doctor Strange and Magneto, if they can't land the mag cannon from Magneto, will be punished. But they've got the tools to counter it because they adjusted once they saw it mid-draft and didn't just stick to a standard double ranged in a 2-2-2 setup.
Leo's going to be comfy, just bush camping there, waiting for an approach from this team as Demon's on the top side, looking to connect on the side of these Vanguards, but that's what Leo was waiting for as they go on up. The Dark Magic is going to come out as well, but they don't find the KO onto Demon, but they are trying to hold them straight at the door here, although Lugia has been isolated now. A brilliant pickup by FUT Esports.
Blaxou separated them away from their strategists with the Grubbles, exactly what we want to see, allowing Hela to just unleash the pain, and Isidor to trap them one more time. And FUT have slain this setup, but this is where a problem comes in. Who was the first person to get KO'd? It was Doctor Strange, meaning that this team is likely already halfway back.
You are going to be ready with a portal as we see it coming in on this top side now, but it's all about what FUT Esports can do with the momentum that they've built. Lugia here has to lose that shield nearly instantly. So much damage is going to rain on through. Slopo's trying to see if they can find it on the side of SmashNezz. Demon here trying to use these poke corners to get a huge amount of damage onto Final Dance as well. This payload continues to progress around this corner, looking to see if they can find the pick onto the healers. Znost gets out.
Even if they're not winning these fights, they're buying so much time. Ensong Inferno actually trapped inside the building, invisible barrier to look for this. They need to not hit the wall. It's picked off. It finds nothing. Again, the targeting from FUT is insane. They're going to try and turn this round with an invisible boundary to buy an extra couple seconds, but the Eye of Agamotto is in onto Blaxou. Meteor M, but they tank through it. The invisible boundary is just too much, but the Eternal Bond is completely splitting the team in two. And with all their ultimates, Final Dance have cut through over half the remaining time.
Yeah, they use a lot of resources for it, but it's all about time management here in these convoy maps, and Final Dance use it to get the upper hand as we are now about to hit the 2 2-minute mark on the board for FUT ESPORTS, and they're still yet to get it around this first corner. Still building up plenty of ultimates here as well, as Leo is at that 70% mark, not too far off it on the side of SmashNezz either, as they look to get the damage to continue to rain on in. Isidor's going to accept all of it and see if they can find a good pick here onto the side of Lugia, trying to get on this point as hard as they can, but Final Dance holding on up.
SmashNezz found on the high ground and saw them on the flank, which is a huge pickup here. Coming on in, Heaven's Descent, Icarus Axis, Barrel Leap to turn it round to buy the extra seconds, forcing Isidor back to the sky, but it's given an opening for Lugia to be taken out. Wyni falls, and Final Dance's defense disintegrates here, but they bought so much time.
That they did, and we know how important that is on this map. I mean, 58 seconds on the board for Final Dance, so they have to hold FUT ESPORTS to every chokehold they possibly can here. They've got the Eye of Agamotto ready to go around this corner, not too far off the last stand as well, as we try and see if we can get any picks on the side of Blaxou, but they've got plenty of ultimates ready to rain down.
The siege comes on in, Slopo poking away, trying to just look for anyone weakened on the backline, trying to lock him in, straggling prison, isolated, group walls, good night, no, fate of both worlds for the delay.
What a response there, knowing Kraken Impact was pulled out with that as well. Ensong Inferno is going to go on in. Milkboy finds Demon. Last stand is going to come on through as they look for the pick. SmashNezz finds Closer. We do see the stuns on Lugia as they do have to use the Fate of Both Worlds here on the side of FUT ESPORTS. But you do see these HP bars going down and up and down and up. Right now, Final Dance have the response. The DPS comes through and they push FUT ESPORTS all the way back to the spawn room.
They're going so far, they're literally heading to the door. Finally, they're going to retreat into the choke point and use that gate to their advantage, but they got so many staggers there, and FUT are now in trouble. More time keeps being taken away, and they don't have engage ults. They're already almost back to straggling prison, and they're about to have their own trap with that. Angela, who can just get solos where needed. Lugia is taken down, and Final Dance, they're getting picked off one by one. They can't let this be happening. They need to be fighting as a group.
Brilliant Meteor M coming up there just to absorb any damage coming their way, and they do get KO'd for their efforts though as Isidor finds the Milkboy. But this is it, every time that FUT ESPORTS managed to get a foothold, Final Dance have bounced back with brilliant resource management, and we are so close to getting another Eye of Agamotto and Ensong Inferno.
Portal's about to be off cooldown as well, but for now they make their way on foot because they have the time. They need to have Lugia be the one to pull this engage, because if Lugia goes down, they can portal back in. If they delay this long enough, they can do so. But for starters, they gotta touch it, because that's a lot of distance being made. Isolation by Wolverine. Lugia is in fact going to be the one onto the point. It's a double. Slopo turned that round from what was an incredible engage by Final Dance into an absolute massacre. Slopo says again, and they are pushing into what could be a triple cap and overtime, which could take FUT the tournament.
Bro, this is absolutely insane. Slopo with a Hexa there and the wall from Blaxou there to stop Final Dance being able to pull on in. Lugia dives through and they just find that pick. Smart by Lugia not to use that Eye of Agamotto, knowing that they didn't have their team there to back them up. But this is a brilliant approach from FUT ESPORTS. They've still got 2 minute 30 on the board. They've got to be quicker with this. They want more time if we end up in that overtime section.
Eternal Bond creating the opening. Ensong Inferno from downtown into the backline, but the retreat into the invisible boundary. Eye of Agamotto though! Can they burst through the extra healing? Demon is going to be the first one to fall with 2 minutes 14 remaining. Final Dance are burning every second they can. You can buy as much time as you can, but that time has to hit 0. Invisible boundary number 2 as Closer gets theirs off. Meteorome is blocked out, not going to be landing on anyone thanks to Isidor in the sky with that extra shielding. The Fate of Both Worlds from Oasis is zoning them away, but Isidor is on the flank.
Looking for a pick on that backside. They are, whilst having to deal with Blaxou on this point, and Damon's looking to go around on the retreat as well. Slopo is back, dropping huge amounts of damage across this payload right now. Final Dance already on the side of the last stand, and they use it here. They don't find the pick they're looking for just yet, as Lugia is straight on this point with the dark magic coming on through. Isidor looking for a pick in the middle of all of this, and Milkboy is taken down. And there we say goodbye to Leo. Oasis falls as well as FUT ESPORTS walk through final defense on the Final Dance.
There's very little time left. Final Dance will have a portal, but they can't use it. They can use it this close, but for what? At this point, the best bet for Final Dance is to hold the portal, win a fight, and then portal the opposing team into the spawn. That's their best bet to burn through the time right now. But in order to get that, they have to win a team fight. They have to get a team wipe. Isolation onto Leo, but it's not enough for the finishing blow. They're in the backline. Heaven's Descent on Wyni to burst through. Goddess of Death. Milkboy sold off the point. You gotta touch it, Last Dance. Down goes SmashNezz. Milkboy falls. Lugia's off the point with everything on the line. Invisible boundary, and I don't see a way the Final Dance can hold this. The Eye of Agamotto comes in. Fate of both worlds is buying them every extra second.
And they need it here as Wyni's about to come on in. Endless Fire Song's going to go on through. Oasis with the fate of both worlds. And right now they are straight on holding this point. Lugia is back on up, ready to raid through the blocks. But they have found the pick. Slopo takes down Leo. And right now, FUT ESPORTS, once they are sat back from this payload, they have to be more aggressive here. SmashNezz has found Isidor. The defense is coming through. Tetcher, Final Dance have pulled them away from the payload.
They can't pull them back in their spawn though. It's been too long. They've had to zone them out. Slopo's going to try and go for a hook. There's the regeneration domain to give it an extra couple seconds so that Slopo can push onto the point. Blaxou coming back in. This is still the same fight technically. Meteor M to go downtown. Direct hit on Blaxou. And the defenses disintegrate. They cannot touch. And Final Dance are taking us to a map number 7.
Just as we expected, a defense to behold by Final Dance there. They were refusing to go down. It was a moment there where we were like, you have to get on that payload. You've got to get a touch onto it. It is progressing. But once they did, a brilliant effort to hold on out Lugia with a very much deserved MVP. It's free apiece, Tetcher.
15 final hits from Slopo, and it wasn't enough. Djalia, we got it. We're not able to do what we did in Ignite sometimes, where in the preview screens before they transition us, they give us the music. So we're just able to like, oh, that's Arako. To have a little mini rave in the chat as well, so they're able to try and predict themselves. Blaxou burning the diamond form there, but it will easily be back before the spawn, and of course, without any of the rotational abilities or swapping between heroes, we're not going to see any Penny Parker mine rollouts or being able to siege from across the map, which also has kind of started to backfire on a lot of teams anyway, because your Penny Parker to launch mines, your opponents will just take the damage with the Vanguard, and then once the doors are open is when you can start building ult charge. Your Vanguard's already damaged, the Penny didn't gain charge because the doors won't open, but the strategists who heal up the damage now the doors are open would. So we don't see that very often, and Lugia going to do exactly what we expect to see and set up for a portal, because use it now, it'll be back for a second engage later.
Yeah, trying to go for this straight flank portal. We see so many teams doing this on this map, seeing if they can find a quick pick. Demons responded instantly, drops down here, continues to connect with those link ups, and we see Isidor trying to see if they can find a quick pick onto the side of Leo, but they're going to get back.
Mad Cannon knocks them back into the backline though, finds the Lokis. Forced to retreat, taking a little bit too much damage, and it almost seems like the teams have swapped sides here as Final Dance are set up in the defensive position to try and zone away FUT ESPORTS. Demon takes a little bit of damage. Leo also eating a little bit of the map environmental damage here, which is going to build up some ult charge from the strategist, but Magneto falls, setting up a huge opening for the side of FUT to clean them off the point. 1/3, almost there, a sliver off the point for Final Dance, but they're just starting to get zoned away, and they're kind of trapped away from any entrance route here.
Yeah, that was a good approach by Final Dance, but an even better response from FUT ESPORTS, and Demon was uncontested there, though. Oasis is ready online with this Fate of Both Worlds. That's going to get them back onto this point. Invisible Boundary is going to go up in response as well, as Slopo is ready with the final judgment here, but he has FUT ESPORTS just clean through Final Dance. They have to retreat. They may not have found the KOs, but you don't want to stand in front of that mega cannons coming from Slopo.
Evasive maneuvers from the side of Final Dance there to avoid getting getting caught out, and now they've brought themselves up. Here comes the fate of both worlds from the God of Mischief of Wyni, with Kraken Impact out the ready, so they have the damage boost. They can try and commit to a fight here. They isolate onto Blaxou. Kraken Impact, but it's Lugia who falls first, and now with the healing taken down, we are out of tools for Final Dance, who are forced to retreat. SmashNezz has Galactic Legend, but their team is not there to support them.
Won't be smashing anybody with that just yet, buddy. The thing is, they had the Kraken Impact. They couldn't find the resets, and FUT Esports shut down the approach that Final Dance were looking for. The portal was used. We're now under 2 minutes on that clock, and they haven't managed to get even 33% on this objective just yet.
Coming in from above, Heaven's Descent! Icarus active, but retreating immediately to not get caught out of Galactic Legend on the flank, and Blaxou is getting targeted. Demon falls! SmashNezz is barely standing, but their team reinforces in, looking for anyone on the flank as Isidor. They can hear him, they can now see him. Assassin's charge to get out of danger, but closer is the one to fall. Last Dance halfway through the point, no portal reinforcement for FUT, so all they can do is rush the point or let it go, and they decide to take the defensive position.
Yeah, let it go. Keep these ultimates ready for this next stall. Realistically, they were going to get that cap, so now you have to retreat back and try to hold them here. It's all about burning time. They've managed to burn a considerable amount for Final Dance. Now they've got 3 minutes on that clock. This is the point to stall them.
Poking in, zoning the center building so they can set up. Punisher can then rotate to the side building if they need to. Set up with a culling turret to zone even more, but you've got to be careful because if SmashNezz flanks you, you can be in some serious danger. Pushing on to the point, trying to burst on through. Now the mag barrier is down. Milkboy will fall. Demon retreating up to the high ground, but not even needed in this fight as Slopo proceeds to play clay pigeon shooting.
Yeah, judgment time it was, and the judgment was Final Dance are no longer allowed on this payload. As FUT Esports respawn, they do use a massive ultimate for it, but very close to having this Ionic Seduction back, and they've got both strategist ultimates ready to go. So in a comfortable position here is FUT Esports.
They've set themselves up nicely here. Close are sieging away. Sets up a silent vortex to try and slow down mobility of SmashNezz on that Starlord. Znost, Eternal Bond. Close are Invisible Barrier. Wyni has that in God of Mischief, and Oasis has the fate of both worlds. Isidor is taken down, and Oasis also has Isidor. So they have all strategists are available for the main engagement. The question is, who's going to pull the trigger? It's going to be Wyni who pulls the trigger first as they go for a God of Mischief. Did they go onto Oasis, or did they bring it onto their own side? They brought out the Lunar Star.
That they have, so they do have double Fate of both worlds here to chain on through. Gonna have to use them all on Wyni's at least before they go off it, and that's gonna be a huge choke slam from Blaxou, but that just goes into an eye of Agamotto as Demon gets prepared with the end song Inferno, and it connects on to Tetcher Smash. He's gone, Leo has gone, and they're trying to hold this point with the Fate of both worlds. They used Wyni's, now it's gonna be Oasis, but FUT Esports have pushed them back with 2. It doesn't matter, they come out on top.
They push on through to chase them all the way back. The Icarus axes as Isidor isolates one more. Milkboy falls, and it staggers out the door right now. Final Dance, they are just being completely removed, pushed all the way back to their own entrance. The low ground from the flying character.
Oh, the low ground indeed, and it works a treat as Isidor gets back to that payload, holds up the shield, and right now FUT Esports are in a position they want to be in, but we're just about to hit 1 minute on the timer for Final Dance. They've got pretty much any ultimate they want ready to go. It's all going to be about the resource management, and FUT, they're winning that battle.
FUT currently setting themselves up. Isidor going for a wraparound and also a map heal to make sure that they are prepared for what could be the last fight of this round as we're down to the last 50 seconds. They have bought time here. They've not fought because they want to fight as close to overtime as possible to prevent Lugia from pulling back in. Heaven's Descent back to the sky, coming on in with the Icarus axes, but Slopo is trying to melt on through. Invisible Boundary will buy them a little bit of extra time, but the retreat from Final Dance is trying to avoid the first pickups, but they can't get away from the damage output. Oasis falls, Lugia falls, falls, but that's good news for Final Dance, because if Lugia had fallen last, there was no way back. But now it's up to Isidor. If Isidor can rush in and interrupt this portal, it's over.
Exactly that. If they can just get this disruption, Lugia's not going to be able to pull the portal off, and that's what they need. We're down to 10 seconds here. Looks like they will be able to, as we wait to hear it come on through. But FUT Esports holding them. The portal does come through, and they're straight onto it right now. FUT Esports looking for the respawns, but they weren't there quick enough.
And suddenly FUT are stuck behind their opponents. They're not in the way of the door. Wyni, last final stop. They push on through, crack and impact, and they've cracked open the defense of FUT. They make their way into the temple, and Bast is smiling upon down on Final Dance this day. Closeon's gonna buy a couple extra seconds, but Final Dance, they use the Iron Bulwark on Strange to guarantee the portal, and they've created an opening.
I mean, that was a fumble if I've ever seen one from FUT Esports. They were way too busy trying to block that portal off, and they ended up on the opposite side, Tetcher, and that just meant Final Dance were easily able to get onto that point, find the quick KOs, and get to this next section.
Down.
But now they've got to deal with FUT Esports coming on through. Milkboy looking for a KO, doesn't find it with a Meteor M just yet. In the meantime, though, Slopo is trying to handle this start lot. SmashNezz trying to pull their attention. Fate of Both Worlds is going to be used here as well as they dive on through. We see Isidor getting chained down to the floor as Closeout falls down. Right now, Final Dance with a good approach.
Well, they rattled. They're going down one by one. They're desperately rushing the point because they know there's so little time left, and they were so close to victory. They're burning time, but space is being taken, and Final Dance are making their way in to what could be their final push.
20 seconds, and now this is it. It's go home time if they don't hold on out here. Final Dance don't have any ultimates ready to go. Very quick at having the Kraken impact, but in the meantime, FUT Esports, they've got Final Judgment ready. Ensong Inferno coming in. Closeout has the invincible boundary. It is a mountain to climb for Final Dance here.
Here comes the Final Judgment. Invincible boundary to make sure that they're safe. Slopo gets the target in. It's the Ensong Inferno from above. Lugia's Iron Moto does nothing. And overtime's ticking down. Can Milkboy delay this long enough for the portal with 7 seconds left on the respawn? The hope is disintegrating. And Final Dance have taken one last tumble. Then he's over. That push is concluded at 2 points, 107 meters, 28 centimeters. That is all that stands.
But they didn't get it all the way, but still a long way to go.
And once again, Final Dance find themselves in an ideal situation where they have done a to as many people as possible and punish Loki, and of course Ensong Inferno deletes the clones entirely.
Alrighty, so let's see, because Final Dance, they want to go for a strong defense here. You want to try and burn as much time as you possibly can as Isidor goes straight onto the face of it there, looking to see if they can find a quick pick. Look at the rotation coming around from Isidor.
Going all the way around the outside, finds the Lokis, finds the Luna.
Oh!
The freeze, body blocks, they trap themselves, but it's going to be enough. Luna's going to be able to get away from set up Oasis with the backup. That point is activated, which is of course going to be a little bit more difficult to stand on, but it is a lot of ult charge towards their team. Lugia has the Zephyrin barrier, but the Icarus axes and the Carbon Crush shuts them down. But once again, Lugia, one of the earliest ones to go down, which means Portal is available. So it's all about buying time right now. Lugia respawns, SmashNezz buys time. I don't know if they bought enough time here. It's all about speed. Loki's trying to rush it, to touch it for just a couple seconds more. That might have been enough. Oh, reinforcements!
Literally at the final brink as they try to come through one by one. Though Slopo cleans them up. It's shotgun galore here as FUT Esports wipe out any approach Final Dance had.
FUT just smashed that, making their way in with 5 minutes on the timer, and Final Dance's solid defense is dismantled up to the high ground now. Not all the way up, not able to get the perfect positioning here, but second they delete that top area, they're going to be able to set up, and once Scourge Grenade comes off cooldown, Culling Turret will be positioned for a little bit of extra sieging to buy every second they can to push back Final Dance. They've got a lovely zone to force them on the left-hand rotation.
trying to see if they can pull them away from this high ground, going on that flank. Isidor gets pulled. Oasis is going to find the KO onto it. Milkboy's coming in with a Meteor M, trying to see if they can find these strategists, ready to rain it down. Doesn't connect though, as Closer manages to get away. Blaxou is going to find Lugia. Oasis is going to pull out the fate of both worlds here, and it feels like FUT Esports are struggling with the flank that Final Dance have pulled in, but how long can you sustain it, Tetcher?
Final Dance are buying as much time as they can. They're going for the God of Mischief into the corners. The Heavens Descent from Isidor. The accurate axis, but Galactic Legend with no strategist ultimates left for FUT, but it's going to be Isidor taking to the sky, duels out SmashNezz and takes them out with the help of DEAMONN, and another opening is found while Final Dance continues to delay. They buy a lot of time off that point. The whole minute is taken down, but we're significantly more than a fifth of the way through this point.
That we are. So they're underneath the 4-minute mark, and right now they want to hold this point up close. Right now Final Dance are just going to wait for it to get close here and hold them at this area. They're not too far from the spawn room here, and they want to drop down some good picks if they can find them just around this corner, using that line of sight to advantage. SmashNezz again going in with the flank here, looking for the strategist, and manages to find Slopo, and Leo comes in and connects with their own, and that is a cleanup by Final Dance.
But they just used everything in their power. Every tool was taken down with 3.5 minutes to go, and we kind of have to see Final Dance fight further up right now because they need ult charge. They can't afford to let their opponents get to the point because they'll have ult advantage and win. If FUT step up, they're probably going to be able to push this in. If they can hold them, delay them exactly as they're doing, a little bit longer. They build up towards Galactic Legend. Never mind, that will take a bit. They build up towards Meteor M and Fate of both worlds, more importantly.
I mean, we've got plenty of ultimates ready to go on the side of FUT Esports as they pull out the Psionic Seduction here from the high ground. Manages to get in front of the runes as well as they look for the KOs onto Milkboy, but Leo's going to find DEAMONN. Meteor M's going to come through as well. Invisible Boundary well up and ready to roll as Isidor finds the picks, but Final Dance have answered in kind as they find the KOs. Leo finds Slopo, but Blaxou with a good revenge onto Lugia.
SmashNezz is buying as much time as they can with the bonus health that they get, but SmashNezz will go down. Isidor is putting on a clinic right now. Loki makes it back to the point with the regeneration domain. Wyni delays this even longer. Zipline being attempted by Slopo to push on into the backline to keep the pressure going. And Final Dance, they just want a neutral fight with basically no strategist ultimates, and that is huge. All they used of that was Meteor M. Compare that to the side of FUT, who use Psionic Seduction and Invisible Boundary.
Alrighty, so they've managed to get them to the 2-minute mark as we do see the Galactic Legend coming out looking for those picks. Has to use the Eternal Bond to defend against that. Fate of both worlds is going to come through as Isidor's looking for that pick. Lugia, so they go down. Blaxou finds them, and this payload continues to move on forward. Winnie's going to utilize their God, Mischief of God, and here we go. Ensong Inferno is going to come through, but DEAMONN doesn't find anyone. Tetcher Leyolaz is going to come back with a Kraken Impact. Oasis is on there with the Fate of both worlds, and just like that, again, Final Dance holds FUT Esports.
But they're about to run out of defensive tools. Isidor gets onto Milkboy, isolates the region domain, buys time, but it can't find it. Oh, Vagabundo! Into the back line! One on time by Lugia, and it buys every possible precious second.
Lord of Time as they dive through, utilizing the Eye of Agamotto, and they were at 4 minutes on the clock for Final Dance trying to hold out. Now they've got FUT Esports to underneath a minute on this defense.
They have pulled off a miracle. They're once again down to no ults. Meteor M is the closest at 70%. Galactic Legend also just behind it, and Slopo used the final judgment in that fight. They are out of ultimates. Invisible Boundary just comes up, and that will be enough to take this if they can fight quickly. If they fight quickly, Invisible Boundary will be enough, but if they wait too long, Meteor M will be back.
Oh, Invisible Boundary ready to go. Not too far off the Eternal Bond either, as Isidor manages to find two coming through with the spear. Slopo's going to connect and finds Oasis for the final KO. FUT Esports with a great answer. They managed to stall out Leyolaz though, but they're about to come on in with the Kraken Impact. Galactic Legend is here. Meteor M is going to fall on down. Isidor has found two. Milkboy takes down DEAMONN. A huge amount of DPS has gone. Znost is going to use the Eternal Bond to open up a little bit of space for FUT Esports here, and it's working as they're about to cap the point, and it's hold up just at the final moment with the portal.
They're buying every possible second they can. Blaxou on the point. Isidor, the Heavens Descent expires, but here comes Fate of both worlds from the God of Mischief with 1 meter on the board. Isidor is frozen in melee form. Oasis comes in from behind with second fate of both worlds, but we're approaching Final Judgment and that Psionic Seduction, but with no defensive abilities. Psionic Seduction has to be the first trigger onto the board to try and crash someone. The Airsock Inferno finds nothing. Demon is trying to get pulled on in to try and capitalize. Final Judgment to break the hold. There's nothing left. Final dance. They're gonna get pushed into the holes.
The perfect Final Judgment came through. We were in overtime. We'd been in overtime for a while. Everything was used by both teams there. FUT Esports eventually come out on top, but they only have 1:20 on the clock now, and another huge stop that Final Dance can throw their way.
This last point is almost impossible to capture. It's so difficult. Double Assassin's Charge, but this is not about taking people out here. It is about buying time. Every second they can keep Final Dance off the point is a meter that FUT can make their way forward. Invisible Boundary, Leo, Milkboy, Lugia. It's a massacre. Final Dance opened up here.
Oasis was so weak, they were 1 HP in a dream, but the heals from Loki come on through as Final Dance are trying to hold out on this point. Blaxou going up so close onto the side of Lugia, and now they're going to fall as well. That magic's going to come on out, but Closeout and Znost do enough to take the KOs, and Final Dance are going to have to regroup as FUT Esports are moving the payload.
They push on in, Tainted Voltage onto the point. We're down to the last couple seconds. Blaxou with the siege. They take out SmashNezz. They're opening it up. And FUT Esports, Meteorite from the Final Dance to buy the last second. It finds nothing. Fate of both worlds with every possible inch of the Final Dance's body on the line. I am Okamoto. Airsock Inferno. Again, Kraken Impact. Again, Kraken Impact! And Leyolaz is creating a victory for Final Dance! SmashNezz falls, Isidor throws themselves at the point to buy time, but they cannot maintain! GG! And Final Dance are able to take FNATIC Assembled!
Oh my god, they do it, buddy! They were down! It was 3-1 at one point as we go to the victory screen here. Look at the cheers coming through for Final Dance. FUT Esports, no, they put up one heck of a fight, but it was all down to Final Dance with an incredible hold in those final few moments. You see it on screen here. They are going to come back with what we will consider a huge reverse sweep. Hugs all around on that side. An incredible victory, which is going around, giving themselves the GGs. Great sportsmanship here. Both of these teams are fantastic. All of these teams have been competing in the Ignite Stage 2 as well. They know what it's like to compete at this level. But what we are going to do is I'm going to send you out there for the incredible Tetcher to